All right, thank you and everyone joining the Internet of Value Foundation New York, episode 93. And for all of those who come and listen to the information in the future, I hope you find this as valuable as I know I do every day. And start off by saying I apologize for being late today. Unfortunately, work kept me later, but so glad to be here. 4 o'clock. We'll hopefully keep the space open till that 5 o'clock mark today. I have a couple topics that I personally want to speak on. Some information. I'm gonna go get them the links and some pages to lead you to the information if you would like to. Anybody in the space look at it before or after I speak. Shellfish Fridge, welcome up. Glad you guys are here. If you guys, either of you would like to speak, and Ralphie, Zara, and Tushar, welcome to the space.
I'm driving right now, so I will be listening for a few minutes.
Cool. Well, welcome. And Fridge, man, you came up to speak really quick, which is like never happens. So, anything on the top of your mind that you'd like to speak about the topics above, or anything other than that? You there, Fridge? You might be working. Uh, that would make sense. So, just give me 1 second, guys. I'm just gonna grab some of the videos if it's quiet for a moment, and I will start off on some of my concepts I want to talk about today. Welcome to the Space 808 and Dazzling.
Sorry about that. I was getting getting settled in. I just got home. What are we talking about?
No, don't be sorry at all. So specifically, I put up top today, GI for general intelligence, as many like to call it, generative intelligence, which most reference as uh, uh, generative AI at the moment. Um, I put the video above for from Matt O'Donnell about why did the attosecond physics win the Nobel Prize, and I'm also going to break down the three physicists and their roles and what each individual did that led to them winning the Nobel Prize and also being able to discover basically the ability to have an aperture, which is if you think of a photo lens, when you click the button for the photo to be taken, how quick can that screen basically close and open? How fast can that information be stored? Right, being able to create an aperture and where we can view attosecond timing of the electrons. In this particular case, so I'm going to speak about single electrons. Um, uh, being able to interact in their motion from an attosecond timing. And then with that, I would like to go into my thought of where I see computation going because of the discovery from not only this attosecond Nobel Prize, but something that was just mentioned today, where scientists achieve a nearly 1,000-fold increase in coherence within a single electron qubit. And so this massive increase in computation that is on the brink of being accessible from a physical uh, tooling standpoint for not only individuals and the public, but for materials that could be created and use cases beyond that. But that would be what I'm going to speak about today. Ralphie, welcome up. If anybody else who's up here right now, Fridge, if you want to jump back in, man, if you have any thoughts on anything I've said so
What's
far.
up, Rain? Yeah, man, I'm just working on a few things. Saw the request and thought I'd take a little break from work and jump up here and see what you got going on, man.
Well, thank you very much for coming to the space. Sorry, excuse me. I just took a bite of a sandwich. I myself, I just got home from work just a couple minutes ago, so I just finished cooking. Beta, welcome up, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, I also got a request. I just wanted to make sure it's valid. But anyways, what's the conversation today? Are we talking about GI? Can you tell me GI? What's GI?
Yeah, so it's my play on words with generative
I
intelligence,
thought
right?
we
So
agreed to
we
augmented intelligence, Ted. Now you're changing it up on me.
Well, no, I think when anybody mentions the word AI, my brain is still going to go to augmented intelligence.
Right.
Right, and in reality, augmentation is just some sort of indifference of a state that exists that's kind of being able to do some sort of physical state change that we see. Right, there's an augmentation. You think like an augmentation would be a robotic limb that you could add to your body. Right, this would be
Right.
some sort of different state that could create some sort of different change that you might have not been able to do with the
But
original
what would
arm.
you call that?
But well, this is why I reference when we think about these smart tooling sets, augmented intelligence, because well, there's some sort of intelligent action that's being done behind the reference of whatever this digital state is, but it's an augmented coherence, which means it's creating a different electromagnetic function than my brain does, right? So it's being able to do some sort of different augmentation in a digital format rather when I'm existing in this third dimensional format
Right.
at the moment. But then GI, right, generative AI, as it's really termed and being used more concurrently today, are things that lead to a more of a robust, systematic set of processes that are able to occur. And
But
so,
does that have to do with reproduction though, right? The generative, like if I cut a limb off, it'll grow back. Generative. Oh, you mean general intelligence?
well, that would be able to generate a new limb. So it's not far off from where the word generative kind of defines, but really generative is being able to take something, right, previous data set information for this example, and generate something that was completely different from that data set, but based off of that previous data set. So this is where we go to general
Oh,
intelligence.
okay. So if I were to, like, let's say, somebody lose a limb, they would get it back, and they lose that same limb again, but it's generative because it could always replace it.
Although I would say that
Augmented,
generating.
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, 808. Welcome up, though, man. I'm
Augmented
glad you're here.
AI is something to do with humans and using artificial intelligence within the human body, and the concept of what he just spoke of. Generative AI is has a wide range of applications as well as augmented. But what you're talking about generative is like creating translative into code or code writing, or generative as in creating artwork and imagery and stuff like that. Augmented is quite, they're both different. And augmented AI ain't AI, it's IA is the abbreviation. But yeah.
Okay, I was just trying to read up on IBM, not EBM. I was gonna say IBM. They have something generative AI as well. Artificial intelligence has gone through many cycles of hype, but even skeptics, the release ChatGPT seems to mark. Okay.
So I'll give an example of like why an actor like an IBM would really utilize something like a general AI, right? So you could feed it all of this previous data set, right, an enormous amount of data set, and say, what do you think is going to happen in the future based off of this data set? And so it's not just looking at the information and saying, well, these are the only things that are possible to happen because this is what's happened. It's able to generate a function where I think in some terminology why we call it generative, it surprises us. It gives us something like, you could tell to a child and it says something back to you and you're like, wow, I did not think that was actually going to like occur. Like, how did you create that? That's how I
Oh,
like to
okay,
kind of
okay.
generalize the concept of what's
I was thinking about I was just thinking about like our body, the organism, but then I'm looking IBM's called like generative, like you just like prompting the AI to do something for you.
And that's where I was telling you, augmented AI is what's used with humans and in limbs and connective tissues and stuff like that. Is where you augmented a
Okay,
part of your
so
body using that technology. Are you
yeah,
augmenting something else? Generative is like how he explained is or even like encoding. You know, you can have teach the AI the basic formats of Python and or JavaScript, and you can use generative AI to create the basic codes for you, which already happens in a sense. People before us created code that already does that simply. You know, people can do that already, which is pretty cool.
yeah. But you're saying augmented. I mean, the thing is, I know it's all words, but I mean, I guess it's to sectionalize, or what is it called? To compartmentalize things, because it's augmented intelligence. I think we were referring that before it was to do with the brain, right? But now, Crypto, I'm sorry, Crypto Beast was saying to do with body parts. But I mean, I guess the
So
brain's
this is what I'm saying. Augmented AI is a concept that focuses on synergy between humans and artificial intelligence using AI. So intelligence augmentation, augmented intelligence, which is IA, is the understanding about the collaborative approach between humans and artificial intelligence, the cognitive enhancements, personalization enhancements, all kinds. It's just a header with a list of
so
everything else that it can adapt to using that sort of concept. And then you
so
got
you're
generative AI is another header with concepts underneath it that is the same but is focused on something else.
So you're saying one day I could be smarter than death with augmented intelligence?
Well, you have something in your hand that can help you actually get smarter than everybody else in here if you just take the time to learn.
Oh, I
So
won't.
yeah,
Thank you. No, I'm just kidding. I won't.
Who's to judge my intelligence?
Nobody.
Are you not already smarter than me, Lemida?
Come on, man. No, because we all have something to contribute. Nobody. We're all like, what do they call like nodes in a giant world,
Yeah.
flat Earth.
What do you do for business, if I can ask?
I can't tell you.
Well, listen.
No, I'm
If
just
I
kidding.
didn't know what to do with something that I didn't know what to do with, well, listen. You know what to do with it because you can't tell me.
Yeah, I guess.
It's an edge you got on me.
No. But you know what? I mean, I'm not. I don't care if you're smarter than me or not. I mean, we all have something to contribute. That's what I think. Like we can all learn from something, even from the animals, right? Or from the
Intelligence
insects.
is relative to the subject matter of the occurrence of the act.
Exactly. It depends on the subject matter. Exactly.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll give a reference. I go to multi-million dollar mansions to do simplistic repairs on things that you could have literally just YouTube and it would have taken you 5 minutes, but yet it's going to cost you 5 grand now. Like that, simplistic things, right? But also at the same time, he's probably a surgeon that I can't do what he's doing. So there's a trade off, right? And so we have to there's a compromise, a balance. Doesn't mean he wouldn't be able to learn those skills, but you choose your pathway in that sense.
Right. And how much information can one hold in their mind without, like what is it called? Like a short-term memory versus like the long-term memory, just like a computer, right? Like it can't hold everything. There's like a limit, right? One can hold.
That's
that's what's
actually a very
wild.
interesting question.
It
Sorry, go
is
ahead. Go ahead,
because
808.
the
Just
limit
add some
is
storage in my
only
brain.
the limit is only the person themselves that allows them that limit. Because it's wild. Because every day we learn new things every day, and we evolve from the things we learn. But our body retains the information we learned from our past history, even from our ancestors. Now, our bodies has information from then historical value within ourselves, which is crazy within our DNA. So our bodies is more powerful than computers itself, which is wild because we use the connection within our own brains and our synapses and all of that to kind of help use technology and build off of how things go, which is crazy. Um, yeah, it is wild.
Right, right. And I mean, you guys heard about, I mean, I guess everybody's heard about like we only use like how much percent of our brain and 10%, whatever it is. But like, do you think with devices that could, I guess could it like waken up the rest of our brain? Supposedly, if it's only 10% that we're using, could it possibly awaken or augment it, like you guys say?
So that saying is a myth. You use 100% of your brain, right? There's electrical signals firing off all over your brain. Um, the thing is, and this is really an interesting fact to matter, the average individual has 800 million neurons in their brain, and those neurons never die, or never until you die, and they never um you don't grow anymore. You don't lose them either. I don't, unless you do some brain damage, of course. But and so, like, this interesting factor of, like, where's all this information getting stored, and does it ever hit this, like, point where it's full, like a storage capacity,
Right.
and then it's, you start looking into the whole body as an organism, rather than just the brain as this storage device, just like 808 had went into, right? Like, even ancestral uh, uh, information that's been passed down through cellular DNA, right? The formation of just the subatomic realms of the amino acids that are building that DNA. And so, I would say this goes into, like, also muscle memory, right? Like, how sometimes you just kind of, like, remember how to do something, right? You wake up in the morning, you walk over to the sink, you turn the sink on, you brush your teeth every morning. You're like, sometimes you maybe look at the mirror and you're like, damn, I didn't even realize I was in the bathroom right now. Like, how did that all just
Yeah, yeah,
happen?
yeah. It was like autopilot, like, because you've
And it
done
was
it so many
autopilot.
times.
Exactly.
So when you
So,
drive home from work, like, you don't know how you got home.
so it's like, maybe there's this inherent memory storage in all of the subatomic realm of all of the makeup of what we are made up of, which is leads me down the factor of one of the videos I posted above, which I will touch on before the end of this space. Shellfish, you got your hand up. Please jump in.
Yeah, does it have to do with like the different states of matter with solid, liquid, ether, being able to grasp it from that ether dimension type of thing? It's just out there to be attained. You just have to
Wow,
figure out
that's like
how
the
to
secret. It
grasp it.
reminds me of the book, The Secret.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, we just have to get the correct language model to encode it or decode it for you. I would imagine, which is what we're trying to do right now, right? With all the GIPTs right now, we'll call them, because I mean, I know how much you love that, that model.
I mean,
Like,
GI. I don't know if
wait,
we can call it something else,
wait.
because GI makes me think of something else.
Oh, that's what I was thinking. Like, I know how much you guys enjoy that one, so I figured I'd put a play on words for you.
I guess I'm the only one that really liked the GI up there today.
I know, but like people like me would just make fun of it.
No, Meta put the picture of Spider-Man the other day, and him looking a little malformed. So
I keep
that's why I
reposting
kind
it
of
because I think it's funny and other people should laugh. But I don't
we
know.
enjoy ChatGPT, okay? But if you want to call it GIPT and be happy with it, then
Oh, you
fine.
should take over the meme department for that.
808, please go ahead, man. You had your hand up.
Oh, I forgot I was gonna talk about. I'm at physical therapy. Oh, yeah. We was talking about humans in our brain capacity. Yeah, what's cool about it, is our brain. We have the ability to absorb, process, and store information, and continuously learn. It's our infinite potential is there is no known limit for our knowledge and how we acquire that knowledge. We will acquire knowledge until the day we die. As individuals ourselves, the information we will get throughout our lives is gonna either help us grow or not or whatever. Then it comes to neuroplasticity of the human brain, which is highly adaptable, which means it can reorganize and form new neural connections in responses to what we learn and experience through our daily lives, which then allows us to continuously acquire knowledge. And I like how Shell was talking about like different instances and how Meta was talking about short-term and long-term memory, because that's also how our brains differ things from what is stored in those different areas, such as long-term and short-term memory areas. Some of our information we store in the long term is things we probably do every day, like how Death was explaining about when we walk to the bathroom, brush our teeth, we just realize we're there. That's something that's in the long term memory storage area. That's a crazy, like our brain holds information in different parts of it, which deals with certain things like how we move, how we snap our fingers, how we what we chew, what we eat, what we recognize, what we see. So like how Death was saying, that saying of how we only use 10% of our brains is a myth is truth. Because it's our whole being as one is actually a huge brain in
Right.
itself. You know, and that's good stuff. Good stuff. I
So
like this stuff.
how did that myth come about, Death, or whoever knows?
Like most myths, I think somebody said something to somebody else and they took it and they ran with it.
Okay.
I mean, for and for a large period of time, we've always known that our brains were much larger than some animals, and not larger than other animals that seem to be less intelligent than us. And so, I
Right.
guess maybe there was some question about it, but
I mean, the thing is, like people would say, okay, elephant has a larger brain, or this has a larger brain. That doesn't mean that they're smarter than us. It's just the way how the brain was put together versus ours.
also they're also a much larger uh, living organism.
Yeah.
I have to look
Please.
though. I'm not sure if an elephant has a larger brain than us, though.
I mean, supposedly they have the best memory because they remember, like we
They
forgot
are
to give
they
them a
are
bag of
highly
peanuts or
intelligent.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they definitely are very intelligent.
But I think Shellfish had her hand up. My bad.
She did. Shellfish, please go ahead.
It's okay. I'm enjoying this. Go ahead. Finish up, Meta.
No. You just wanna laugh at me. I'm good.
I could do that without the mic on, my Meta.
Just laughing.
No. Oh, let me stop. I'm feeling snarky today. Sorry. Anyway, so do you feel like that there's like a way to access the knowledge? I mean, the same way you can access empathy and sympathy, like it is actually in the ethers, and it would be accessible. Like if I wanted to know mathematical equations, I could access it just telepathically, or I don't know. Do you think that's coming?
When we have an internet of bodies, if you like just use Wi-Fi, get like a signal.
Yes, but when it comes to things like feelings, the difficulty, and this is something that Stephen Wolfram has worked many years on, right? Creating things like a natural language processing unit model, because your feeling may be different than what my feeling would be from that same exact experience. And so the idea is not just to relate the feeling as we would maybe portray it to ourselves, but to relay the intent behind what your explanation of feeling is. And so if I can have you understand the intent behind what I'm feeling without me even having to rationally say anything logically, I think there's something to be said behind that. How it's interpreted, though, is really like the difficult part, because how do we exchange this intent through what we would consider to be feelings, which are really electromagnetic signals that release hormones in our body that'll then release the thought, and based on that thought we then perceive this notion of existence, and that would be what our relative, right, understanding of the feeling is. So there's definitely a lot of complexity behind it. Shellfish, you got your hand back up though, and then Fridge, you got your hand up.
So that was one of the things that they were saying would happen in the future, that you would actually be able to allow somebody else to experience weddings, childbirth, first kisses, whatever, like through the actual experience. Uh, so how do you think that would take place then? It would still be transferred into your feeling of joy or sadness. It would have to be translated into what you interpret it, or you would still be able to feel it the way that they interpreted it.
Well, see, that's the question. How are you able to, with a definition, say this is how you felt? No, it's not how I felt, right? You can never make that determination within 100%. Even if I were to study the exact atomic asymmetry of every electron that's being fired off in your body at a certain moment, which is right? Way beyond what we're able to do with the Nobel Prize that was awarded up top, right? But even if I was to break down every electron in your body, which there's it's just the huge magnitude of computation would need to be do that. How am I still supposed to say that your composition and another's composition are of relative feeling, right? Because it's really just opinion at that point from a semantical kind of standpoint. It's like I don't know how, but I can maybe express the intent behind your feeling, right? We can use words of magnitude that can symbolize things of great of importance, or disastrous means, right? Some sort of intent behind the feeling of what is actually occurring. And then computationally, I can break this down into some sort of graphical means. And so then I can place you on the graph and another individual on the graph. And I could say, well, they had very similar representations of the experience, but I'll never be able to say you felt exactly what that other individual felt, or they felt the same thing, at least in my opinion.
The monkey PFT has his hand up.
Fridge, welcome up, man.
Yeah, I think what I was going to ask was already kind of covered. But with the generative AI or the generative intelligence, when like anybody can read something and and uh, I guess come to a conclusion about it, right? So if this generative intelligence is going over this data set, and I guess to tie it back to Shellfish, where it's enabled to read emotions. Where was I going with this? I think I lost my complete thought there. But another point I wanted to make. The latest South Park episode was basically tapping into what you were saying. You're going into these $1 million homes and doing, work that could be done in under $100, but because they refuse to do it, or they just don't have the time to do it, they pay exorbitant amounts to someone that will do it. And the handymen in South Park became billionaires because no one knew how to do simple tasks. And with generative intelligence, sort of like, I guess, supposing in like the Matrix, where you jack into the Matrix and you plug in some app and now kung fu. In the same instance, you could do that and you would understand HVA systems or electrical systems. But I guess to go back to what I originally talked about, like anybody can read about it, but being able to apply this new knowledge that we're just jacking ourselves into, just because you read it doesn't mean you'll be able to pick up a 75-pound reel of wire and put it where you need to put it. There's just it's like I believe it, but I don't believe it to be like happening anytime soon or in our lifetime. If any of that made sense, that was kind of jumbled up there.
Yeah, it made
Well,
sense.
I plan to live forever, so I don't know who you like what your lifespan is, but I'm gonna live forever.
I didn't
Oh,
know if you had a question or not, but you sparked another conversation I like about using AI technology and generative AI. Using it to read emotions and or generate content based on emotional context of what it's seeing or looking at. We have things that right now that kind of dives into one of the most basic forms of that is you have sentiment analysis, which is what a lot of technology has been doing within the markets. That's people's feelings, buying and selling assets on the markets. And then you got emotion generation into text, like GPT is one of them that does that. That's also taking knowledge of people's feelings and sentiments in what they write and what they share. There's a lot of things that's going on at the moment that's feeding those libraries of how people react to certain things that happen. And we see that happen all the time. within especially this space, right? Market emotions, how people feel, the sentiment around that, even within this space, and then you also have voice emotion recognition, which in speech recognition and generative AI detects emotions in a person's voice. We actually have that within ourselves when we listen inside these spaces. We can tell a person when they're a little irate, mad, that's just basic now. And this technology can get even more deeper into than what we ourselves really understand ourselves. Then you also got chatbots that who are emotionally aware, and virtual assistants that's powered by this generative AI. It is still um working and getting better as the technology evolves and the libraries that it gets information evolves, which we have been seeing with ChatGPT and all these other ones that over time they've been evolving using the information that it has been learning. I ask questions to it now that you would ask like a few years ago. It probably fixed that already, so it's pretty yeah, it's very vast and so much parts that this technology covers, like crypto and blockchain. It covers practically everything within our very daily life. This is pretty amazing.
I couldn't agree more. And Meta, thank you for patiently waiting there, man. Go ahead. And I think after you speak, I will try and speak on the attosecond physics winning Nobel Prize. I'm going to go over the three physicists who all participated in that, some of the little specifications on the roles each of them played, and then I'll let it just take on from there. But go ahead, Meta. Sorry.
No need to apologize, sir. I was going to speak on the attosecond too, although it's not my expertise. Basically, so in layman's term, that are they saying that they made the light flash so quickly, but like measured enough to shine a light on what's it called? I was gonna say molecules. What is it called? I'm reading it in.
Argon gas.
Yes, that. And I put a satirical picture that I got from Nobel Prize that is like they finally shined a light on them. They caught them. But that's what they did, right? They made something. So it says experiments have produced pulse of light so short that they are measured in attoseconds, thus demonstrating that these pulses can be used to provide images of processes inside atoms and molecules. So yeah, this is what these gentlemen have succeeded to do, right?
Yeah, correct. So the three individuals who each played a role, right? Anne Hulier, Frenek Croz, sorry, and Pierre Augustini, each playing their own individual role. Anne Hulier, which could be said to have played the largest role, and her work over the course of all of their works. I mean, they've been physicists for very extensive careers, but her work, which led up to the technically what they were using was yaptosecond laser pulses through an argon gas in a vacuum chamber. And so through this intensity of different electromagnetic pulses that she was able to create with this yaptosecond timing, um, Pierre Augustini was able to take this formula, or this action of what she had been able to create the viewership of, because when you blast a wave of electrons through argon gas in a vacuum chamber, the electrons become still at some points, where you could take an aperture of a picture and be able to look at the viewership, the change of formation from this state, from the electrons themselves and inside of the atoms. And so, using that kind of concept of technique of what she had discovered, Pierre Augustini created a test in where he would take those attosecond time scales of change in a formation state of an electron, and through this he disconnected the beam and then applied his own mathematical equations and then reconnected the beam in a measurable time frame of 250 attoseconds, where they were able to detect or view. This is how they were able to view the aperture of being able to take a picture of what the formation of the electron state was and then what it was after, right? And so in this 250 attoseconds, which, an attosecond is a billionth of a second, there are more attoseconds in a second than there are seconds in the existence of the entire universe, for the perspective that we have of how old the universe is at the moment. And so taking this measure, we came to that point where, okay, well, we're able to take a picture of this electron from one state to the next, but how do we measure it, right? I mean, it doesn't do you too much in the realm of possibilities if I have to guess what the actual measurement of this state from change to change was. I mean, it's basically trying to say you try to measure yourself with rulers that you have no idea what the size of the rulers actually are. And so this is where the third Nobel Prize winner, Frederick Krause, comes into play. And I cannot specifically speak to the mathematical formulation that he came to. If you look at the video above, Why Did the Attosecond Physics Win the Nobel Prize by Matt O'Doyle, towards the end of the video, he shows the very complex scheme and mathematical equation that was derived to be able to measure the electrons from changing from one state to the next. But with all three of these techniques being combined, we now have the ability to measure atomic states of change, the electrons inside of the atoms themselves, in 250 attosecond timing scale. And so the actual next thing that these individuals are working on are actually these quantum fingerprints, right? And so they're molecular quantum fingerprints, where you can break down the subatomic realm of the state of the electrons that is being taken in the sense of a fingerprint. And so this goes deeper than the actual DNA structure that we are. Say you could maybe recreate somebody's DNA and try and steal their fingerprint. Well, this will allow for beyond that protection, because this is actually picking up the resonance of the electrons, the electromagnetic energy, in which represents your identity of existence at that moment of time.
So
And that was a lot of information, but
no, that was great. This is what I've been waiting for, your space. And I thank you for that. But I want to say basically quantum means, like, for me, I think speed, right? And that's what they did was, you said the speed of the light is so quick that it could take me, you said the measuring of more than a lifetime.
Sorry, what did you mean by that?
Okay, you were talking about the
250 attoseconds?
yeah.
Yeah, well, or maybe you meant the reference of how fast an attosecond
Yes,
is.
exactly.
Yeah, there are more attoseconds in a second than there are seconds in the universe's existence.
Wow. How does that happen? That's mind-boggling, but I'm glad there's people like these people. I mean, I said gentlemen, but I just want to say two gentlemen and one woman, or whatever she would like to call herself. But yeah, that's awesome. And I was gonna say something else, very smart, but it just I can't think of it.
It's okay. If it comes back to you, you're more than welcome to jump on it. And so the another interesting factor that plays into this ability for us to be able to view these very small atomic states that are moving at such a rapid pace comparably to the larger states that we view as our reality. The one of the oh, I see you posted things above too.
No, I erased them. Your video's number one.
Give me a second there. Jeez, that threw me off for a second. Sorry. Um, so the the next next article I posted up top, I should say the first article I posted up top. So this was actually something that was just released publicly today. It's a huge milestone and an achievement in quantum processing. And so scientists from Argonne and the Chicago PME, which is the School for Molecular Engineering, came to a nearly 1,000-fold increase in the coherence time within a single electron in a qubit system.
Wow.
Yeah, and so this thought of being able to have the coherence of states, the ability for us to be able to understand that from one state to the next with an efficient metric of being able to have a probable uh, 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 truth beyond that that operation that occurred. And so here's actually a little quote that I took from it. You guys can all look up. It's anl.gov if you would like to look it up, which is the Argonne National Library. But rather than 10 to 100 operations over the coherence time of a conventional electron charged qubit, the qubits that they have now achieved can perform 10,000 with a very high precision and speed. So in the same relative coherence of an operation between 10 to 100 coherences, they can now achieve 10,000. So in everyday life, zero point 0.1 milliseconds is as fleeting as a blink of an eye. However, in the quantum world, it represents a long enough window for the qubit to perform many thousands of operations. And so, unlike a classical bits, qubits can exist both in the states of 0 and 1. And for any working qubit, maintaining this fixed state for a sufficiently long coherence time is imperative. And so, what they mean by this is that in the photons of light that are being transferred and calculated in different states to coherently articulate information that is then processed and received into the computational system, we need to be able to precisely know from which state this electron moves from to the next state to the next state, and be able to to have this with precision, because there are a lot of electromagnetic frequencies we call noise that disrupt the quantum flow and can corrupt information. And so it then becomes very difficult to be able to prove a state to be truth or not, which, you know, if you think about like a computational system, if it's processing magnitudes of data, to put it into instance like plastics that are being burnt up into the atmosphere. Well, you don't want it to have a miscalculation for whatever type of system, say it be a system that's cleaning out the atmosphere because of all the plastics in there. Right? You need precision, accuracy, information that can be processed, and so it's one of the very important things. And Meta, you got your hand up, and then I'll go into photonic state microchips and why the attosecond timing and the thought of being able to view these electrons from atomic states can also go into regular computation being increased by something like 100,000% possibly.
Bro, I just want to compliment you. If I had you as a teacher in school, I would have paid more attention to the sciences. But that's the thing, man. There's people who were chosen to be teachers who aren't supposed to be, I guess. But the thing is, bro, like awesome information. And I wanted to say, so the definition of quantum, see, I was thinking quantum basically by machine, but we're also talking about quantum in light and photons as well. So quantum just means rapid speed. Is that what the definition would be?
Well, you know, so the definition behind quantum, right, is kind of you get a different answer from every person you ask, right? I mean, quantum physics is the study behind the quantum relativity of the physical structures behind space. Quantum mechanics is the mechanical nature behind those figures of geometrical shapes of subatomic realms of energy, right? But quantum is relative to ether, is relative to metaphysical layer, is relative to multi-dimensional aspects of space. It's, you know, it's all depending on how the way you perceive it. But the intent behind, I think, each one of those words is very relative. Even magic, I would say, is kind of relative to quantum, right? Because if you really thought about us being able to interact with subatomic
Right.
levels of energy that could then say something in the future that literally creates matter from what we would seemingly think to be no matter, I don't know, maybe it's
Wait, did you say magic?
well, yeah. I mean, right? Think about it like this, right? If we were to create matter from a structure in which you believe to just be empty space and have there, but for most people would relatively call that magic, right? Like it's indisputable from the
Oh, right.
technology.
Something you don't understand is
Exactly,
magic.
it's beyond your understanding at that moment. But 808, you got your hand up, and I'm gonna grab this phone call. I'll be right back. 1 sec.
No, I just was gonna go off like how I explained with AI and the different headers and lists of what they do. It's like with quantum theory of how just like how Death was explaining. You got quantum theory, quantum physics. You also got quantization, quantization, which is the fundamental concept theory that applies to physical properties like
Right.
energy levels, charge. So like magic, like electricity, electrons, and physical energy levels, wave particles, and stuff like that. And then you got the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, which is another quantum
Not the
theory.
Breaking
But there's a
Bad
lot.
guy, right?
No, not the Breaking Bad guy.
Okay, because I mean, we could. I mean, I think quantum just another cool way to saying it's moving really fast.
Well, quantum is being able to break things down in a sense, but there's a different quantum, like quantum electrodynamics, which is a quantum field theory that describes interactions between light and matter, like how light passes through matter or folds around matter. Then you got quantum mechanics, which in wave mechanics is a mathematical framework that underlines quantum theory with a set of equations and principles. Then you got quantum field theory, which is a theoretical framework that combines mechanics and spatial quantum theory together to create a fundamental outline of how to go about using these theories to pursue that sort of endeavor or knowledge base you want to go for.
Wow.
It's a vast thing. It's cool though, because we
Oh,
can
it
go
sounds
back
cool to
through
me.
history
Yeah.
to learn about it, like even within our own ancestry, which I was sharing within like I was sharing about my Hawaiian ancestry's Kumalipo, which talks about and speaks about creation of life and all that. That's quantum physics and all that within that book. But it's not called quantum until we fast forward to our recent days where quantum theory and stuff like that was being formulated around.
Okay, so the word quantum wasn't coined back then, but it was most likely quantum as well. But someone has their
Oh
hand
no,
up
yes,
there.
yeah.
Go ahead, Fridge, and 808. You brought me to this point where I'm so happy you led me. I want to go with my thought next, but Fridge, man, you got your hand up, please.
Well, like from what my understanding is that quantum it's not so much about speed; it's about the processing depth of receiving and transmitting data. If you're receiving a whole lot of data from several different sources, it can all be analyzed now, but it's probably analyzed by separate parties and miles, physical miles between all this data that has to be transmitted. But with the quantum, I guess the processing power, you would be able to analyze all of that all at once in one place. So basically, how
Is
am I?
that where the word comes out? It's quantified.
Yeah,
Well,
sort of.
it's
Exactly.
not really how fast. It's um,
It's more efficient.
it's like no, the physics that describes the behavior of matter and energy at the smallest scale possible. Like how he was sharing with qubits. So that's where quantum is. It's not how fast things go, but being able to measure at subatomic levels and stuff like that.
Yeah, it just
That's
happens
just
to be
basic.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, 808. I thought you were finished.
Oh no, no, I'm done.
So sorry. So it just happens to be that us, Fridge, as the bounded observers that we are, happen to exist at the time scale of relative electromagnetic frequencies interacting with them as they do, and so these apparent what we think to be much shorter time scales, which make up this like subatomic realm of existence. I think just like 808 says, quantum tries to explain the intent behind those experiences of what is the interactions and what is actually occurring underneath that layer that we seemingly know to exist but cannot really interact with in a meaningful way. And so it brings me to this word, infodynamics. So you can think of things like thermodynamics, very similar in the conceptual means of interactions of the metaphysical structures of this layer of reality that kind of binds everything together. If infodynamics is to be true, and so we are bounded observers that view the formation of information as we do, based off of the structure of entropy through the movement of information through space. The relative notion that we would be able to create digital virtual worlds that would be indistinguishable from our reality creates this apparent overviewership of the fact that there's a possible structure of computation that makes up the underlying metaphysical structures behind all of our reality that we have this viewership. And so going to something like the double split experiment, how are we able to, if not able to prove that regardless as if you are viewing the photons that are moving through that slit or not, it is in the formation of a particle, we would be able to say relatively that indefinite factor that the universe is not a simulation. But unfortunately and
Whoa.
fortunately, we're at this factor where we perceive it to be a wave function until it is viewed. And then when it is viewed, us as observers distinguish the photons to be particles and not part of a wave. And so this interesting underlying factor, which questions the fabric of reality. Does reality exist regardless of if you experience it? Or does reality exist because you experience it? Are us as subjective matters, objective matters of structure as a collective whole, the creators and alters of the reality in itself? And I think it really is very interesting when you start to think of things like infodynamics, where the the thought that if we were able to produce a structure that could pose this type of significance of existence at this moment, who is to say that another civilization didn't exist eons before us that has created the same template of existence and we're just kind of part of that? And so the physical laws of attributes of this quantum realm that we find to be in nature is calculation or mathematical calculations of the highly advanced computational systems that we partake in. Now, by no means do I think this if true or not true, alters our state of reality. Reality is still what you perceive it to be, and so never lose that, right? And we can only do what we have in our control. But I find this to be a very interesting underlying layer that if we could learn to interact on an info dynamic of this subatomic realm of energy, truly the possibilities are endless in this matrix of computation we possibly exist in. A couple hands though, and I know I talked a lot there. I'm kind
I
of back
just
to
wanted
that.
to touch on that subject, but yeah, the hands first. My bad.
Yeah, the hands. Well, you had your hand up, but I think
No,
808
I
was
think it
first.
was 808, and then like ladies first, Shelfus can go, then me first after her.
So
Just completely forgot about Fridge there.
dynamics is talking about the information being able to the flow of information and then the dynamics of within the various systems, like being able to understand how we as humans exist by using infodynamics in a way to have that source of information. I'm trying to get to it because I understand infodynamics refer to study of information flow within the various systems, whether it is transmitted, process, utilized within quantum theory, or just generated. We use infodynamics in cryptography, which is pretty cool because it's used in where analyzed and designed secure communication systems for encoding, encrypting, and protecting information. Which infodynamics is another one that's vast and multidisciplinary field, that covers, like what you were explaining to a lot of other things. I'm just trying to grasp what was the question. But yeah,
Yeah, what wasn't more of, I guess the question would be is because I guess you're right. I ended it with a little bit of like a question mark, but it's more of like a rhetorical question mark. Like, how does that, if that to be the truth, what can you do with that kind of in that sense? And I think it's more so empowering.
okay, okay, I think I kind of get it now. But what's crazy about it is because I was getting to that point of where how can we use such understanding of these different things that we learned from, especially understanding quantum theory, physics, and all the things, which inherently affects a lot of stuff that we do today. Understanding of just anything helps us do better with whatever that functioning is. And what infodynamics helps with is, being able to utilize these complex systems and get these informations, um, to leverage these different concepts and tools that we learn way easier, which can help on a development level. People like we use generative AI to help with basic formations of code generating. That's a form of infodynamics of learning of things to what we can do today to help things make things more efficient. That's just one of the most basic ways of how something like the study of flow of information and different various systems can come together and create something that helps it makes it easier. That's just one area, and then you got all these other things that can come with infodynamics in other fields. But yeah.
Yeah, and you went down that exact pathway of where the thought was supposed to push. Because the thought of quantum entanglement, right, the ability to have an interaction of a state that then alters another state faster than light itself can move, is really the the next step to being able to actually interact in a meaningful way with that understanding of that notion of what actually exists behind that structure. And so thank you very much. It was perfect. Fridge, Shellfish, you had your hand up. Fridge, and then Meta, and then I'm going to close it up.
I'll jump in tomorrow. I know you've got other stuff to do. It's all good.
Fridge, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I think we went past the moment.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
So I'm sorry. I had a phone call. My bad.
Well, you're it for us, Meta.
I'm it.
You want to bring us?
Oh, tag. I'm it. I
You're
mean,
it.
Ralph who was gonna speak? Let Ralph speak.
No, listen, you got to know when to speak and you got to know when to listen. And this is a conversation where I know I have to listen.
I just ask a lot of questions. That's what I do. I just ask questions, then I listen. But I mean, it's good to ask questions, right? Where's that saying? Be dumb for a day, then dumb for the rest of your life.
I think it comes down to like us being able to be in superposition. We can exist and not exist at the same time. We have other people that are able to validate us when we go into unconscious state, and the same as they go into unconscious state. So the fact that we can be conscious and unconscious at the same time and have validators are there to prove our existence. But the big question is, who's the big observer that's validating all of us? Is it God? Is there something bigger? That's pretty much where you were going with the simulation theory, right, Steph?
Or is it just Shellfish?
Dear
State
God,
of
well, that's
awareness is
basically what I
I hope
was.
you that it is not just selfish, because my ultimate evil plan was to print 3D me's for eternity. Remember? So
You had an
There's
evil plan.
you
there's
don't want to
nothing
have
that says.
you don't want to have a multiverse of selfish.
Well, there's nothing that says in a
Why
different
not?
multiverse, in a different dimensional aspect, in a different even part of the universe, which is beyond vast of our understanding, that a symmetrical representation of that intent is maybe existing. And so, never doubt anything, for everything is possible. All right, Meta, you got your hand up. Bring us out, man, because I got to
Yeah,
close.
yes, sir. So basically, it was touching on the subject of photons, right? And you were saying, so I'm just thinking about so the speed of the photons could make a virtual reality or an alternative inorganic reality seem as our actual reality, make it seem like it's in our actual reality that we're existing in. But then you'll say, what is reality? You
No,
know?
the idea is that there's an underlying structure faster than light that can transfer information, and that information can then be based in a structure of third dimensional space, which is what we would consider to be matter.
Right.
That's really like the underlying kind of,
I,
I guess,
I mean,
substance from
I
that
was
thought.
thinking about that when I used to go shopping for like TVs because I was like into it, like the XBR, Sony, whatever TVs. We're like, how many hertz is it, and how fast can whatever it is, because like the higher the speed, the frame per second, whatever it was. So I was just thinking about that. So if you speed up the light, so it can make us think that it's reality, 'cause you can tell the difference, right? So that's what I was just picturing that in my head when you were talking about it. But yeah, I know it's much different, but it's like
Okay, it's a perception thing, right? Like, to us, the universe is not moving, right? You look up every day and the stars are in the same position, yet the vast changes of the universe over the course of the billions of years, and changes that are existing today, is it's just, it's not
I,
able to be understood by your perceived notion, because we
right.
are observers bound by the laws of the physical states that
I
we're in.
mean, it's like if we look from our balcony and there's trees, right? We know the trees are there because of light. If we didn't have light, we wouldn't know that they were there.
Oh, here's the most interesting thing. Are they trees, or are you absorbing photons that are bouncing off of other photons that are then creating the structure of the realism that you think to be experiencing? I'll leave it on that one though, because I do love you guys. It's been an awesome space today. I will be back Tuesday, 3:30 Eastern Standard Time, as long as work allows it to be. And I hope everybody has a great rest
So
of the
I
night.
gotta wait till
Love this.
Tuesday. What a cliffhanger! All right, thank you.
What am I going to do with you, Meta? Night, everybody.